Hello and good morning. Welcome to the second annual Smart Rail Technology Conference, proudly hosted by the Canadian Urban Transit Research and Innovation Consortium on this digital platform here. Thank you so much for joining me here. My name is Parvati Pillai, and I work as the Program Manager for ZEP Consulting Services here at QTRIC. Today, I'm joining you from Hamilton, Ontario. Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon and Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Thank you so much for joining us here for an exciting panel on moving Canadians with light rail, the ups and downs of LRT deployments across Canada. This session is proudly sponsored by ABB, and I would like to invite Mr. Martin Bussier, Director, Business Development, Rail Segment, North America, ABB Electrification Division, ELSP ABB, to say a few words. Martin, over to you. Looks like we are having some technical troubles with making Martin come on stage. We would give Martin 1 minute.
It was working and now it's not working anymore.
I can hear you, Martin.
Yes, but the video is not working for some reason.
Please turn on your camera, Martin.
Yes, I did. And it seems that
okay.
The video is no longer disabled to the host. He said,
we are innovators. We would find a way. Not to worry. Why don't you, say the sponsor words? Go ahead.
It's Martin Bussier. I think you can see me now. And we are very happy to sponsor this panel discussion, and we are happy to have the opportunity and QTRIC give us the opportunity to sponsor this panel discussion. And also, right now we have a brief video, so you could look at it, and that's your turn. Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to the video, and sorry for the little technical problems. So I am very excited to be here today to assist to this QTRIC conference. And now, Parvati, I will give you back the lead. Sorry for this technical problem.
No, not to worry, Martin. We are all problem solvers and innovators here. So thank you so much for sponsoring this session and making this conference a success. I thank you for being here to say a few words about ABB as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye. So thank you everyone for tuning into this particular session on moving Canadians with light rail, the ups and downs of LRT deployments across Canada. So light rail transit, it can be like a way for us to increase mobility in urban and suburban areas, revitalize the neighborhoods, decrease emissions, and ensure like our neighborhoods are transit friendly as well. But there are ups and downs associated with these deployments as well. So we are here to learn from the nation's leaders in this space as to what our ups and downs are for the country. What are the opportunities that we can avail of? What are the challenges that we need to plan for? And what are the risk tolerances that we need to be having? It's my absolute pleasure to invite Ms. Carrie Horton McDonald, branch manager at Edmonton Transit, to this panel. Welcome, Carrie. And Ms. Amal Tamim, market leader at Jensen Hughes. So these are our two panelists. Very exciting discussions are yet to happen. So before we do start our panel discussions, I do want to request our panelists to give a brief presentation. And I would like to turn to you, Carrie, first for a brief presentation. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us to participate in this panel discussion. I'm happy to be with you today to talk about LRT in Edmonton. So I'm coming from a very sunny Treaty 6 territory and look forward to the discussion. I've been working in transit for about 10 years now, and I've been at the helm of ETS for the last year. And I feel like it's flown by. We have so many exciting projects underway in addition to the delivery of public transit service in Edmonton. LRT is really a critical component of our mass transit plans and core to our ability to achieve mode shift and our climate goals. I'm very proud of the work we have undertaken and have underway to further integrate LRT into our transit service in Edmonton to enable mobility and support Edmontonians to connect with their community. ETS provides 87 million rides per year to Edmontonians. So this is obviously pre-COVID, across 4 layers of transit service. So we have conventional bus, LRT, paratransit, and our on-demand bus service. We have approximately 2,200 employees who work with me to provide these services, and we have a lot of partners as well. So including some contracted security and on-demand transit resources. And I also work very closely with other branches in the city of Edmonton, like our LRT expansion and renewal branch, as well as our fleet and facility services branch. Light rail transit has been in Edmonton for over 40 years. So 1978, Edmonton became the first city with a population under 1 million in North America to have a light rail transit system, and the 3rd city in Canada to incorporate LRT into its transit system. The original line from Central Station to Belvedere started construction in 1972 and was completed 6 years later in 1978, just in time for the Commonwealth Games. Between 1981 and 2010, 10 more stations were added. And this style of LRT is high floor, powered by an overhead catenary system, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So the overhead catenary system provides 700 volts of DC power to the trains. We work very closely with our utility provider for the traction power system. Our utility provider, EPCOR, maintains, repairs, and constructs the system for us. They also continually monitor our substations, and if a problem is detected, they react immediately by informing our train operators so that we can stop the trains in that area before a major incident occurs. EPCOR has space to stage and work out of our main operations and maintenance facility, so they're co-located with us, and we're really grateful for that support. Our traction power system is designed to accommodate 5-car trains. So the system has redundancy built into it so that if one substation goes offline, another adjacent substations will pick up the load and the train operations can resume normally. We have had to operate this way for a number of months this year, as an example, when one of the substations was struck by lightning. We had to wait many months for a new transformer to be manufactured and delivered. The equipment is all designed to be fail-safe. So if we get a wire tear down, the power automatically turns off so that there's no risk to the public. The traction power system is closely monitored through a control center that detects any faults in the system. And if a fault is detected, our operations control center is notified immediately so that we can stop the trains in that area. Our goal is to prevent incidents before they occur by closely monitoring these systems. I'm now going to show you a few pictures. So our traction power system is 24 kilometers long. We don't use any energized or third rail. All of our power flows through the overhead system. Most of our right-of-way is accessible to the public, which is why we went with an overhead system. We have our own specialized catenary maintenance vehicles, and one is shown in this particular photo. The vehicle can install and repair overhead catenary components for us. So our next photo, you can see from each substation, we have a series of cables, typically run underground, that bring power to the overhead catenary system. On this slide, the photo is showing the top of a train, and you can see the pantograph on top of the train that's touching the overhead catenary wire. The pantograph is what transfers the power from the catenary to the train, and the pantograph can accommodate for varying heights of catenary wire. For example, the catenary is at a higher height at road crossings than in our shop or in our tunnels. The signal system is another really important component to our LRT. So the signal system is like the traffic control system for our trains. So it detects the trains and prevents them from occupying the same space and keeps a safe distance between them. So safety is one of the critical components of all of our design and operations. So the signal system works automatically, but it can be manually overridden by our control center when required. The trains do not have the ability to manually override the signal system for safety reasons. The signal system enforces train speed by using multiple speed checks along the tracks. And if a train is speeding, it will be shut down. The system integrates with traffic lights as well, and it gives the trains the priority. So another visual. When our Metro Line extension opened in 2015, our LRT system attempted to use a moving block signal system mixed together with a fixed block system, but it unfortunately didn't work well. The two systems didn't integrate very well with each other. So we recently moved from a moving block signal system to a traditional fixed block system, which has been working flawlessly since we put it into operation. Like the traction power system, the signal system is also fail-safe. So if there are any failures of the components, the crossing gates will come down, allowing the system to fail in the most safe condition with crossings protected. Even if there is a broken piece of rail, the operator will get a red light and be told not to proceed in that instance. And more pictures. So these photos show some of the signal rooms and signal bungalows. Our signal system is maintained by an external contractor, again, to our utility provider, EPCOR. However, we also have a team of our own internal engineers and technicians who do a lot of the troubleshooting and the minor design work for us. And I love this picture. So on this screen, this is a photo of our LRT control center. So this is really the heartbeat of our operation on the LRT side. This is where our train controllers work out of during peak operating periods. We have up to 4 controllers in the space to respond to any unplanned incidents and keep our trains on schedule. So this is really about service management. So just like on the bus side, we have the same approach. We do the same thing on the train side. So the train control center is really the nerve center for the operation. They respond to and coordinate all of the issues that are happening while in service, including train issues, any facility issues, even security related things as they come up. This is also where issues are escalated to our senior management team. And so I get notified if there's a major incident that takes place, and it comes from our control center staff. Currently, we have 2 separate control centers, one on the bus side and one on the LRT side, but we're working towards getting them integrated, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're also talking with our partners that operate at traffic control as well to see if there's further opportunities for more integration across the entire suite of transportation. All of our intersections that the LRT crosses are controlled with gates and bells with a dedicated LRT right-of-way. This is going to change next year, and I'm going to talk a bit more about our LRT expansion. But when our Valley Line LRT line goes into service, it's a different style LRT. So it's an urban style, low floor LRT. So it will be a bit different for those lines. Within our current high floor LRT system, the trains have priority over vehicle traffic. If for some reason the gates and bells are not activated, the train will have a red light and will need to stop until the gates and bells are activated, again, for safety reasons. So I'm now going to spend some time talking about strategy and talking a little bit about what comes next for us on the LRT side. So last year, our City Council approved the city plan for Edmonton, and it combines our municipal development plan along with our transportation master plan. So it's this long-term single plan for the city, and embedded in it is our mass transit strategy. And this is really our guiding North Star, guiding all of our work when we think about what comes next for mass transit in Edmonton. So the mass transit strategy envisions a network of transit nodes and corridors, which will enable us to welcome 1 million more people to Edmonton in the decades ahead without expanding our city's boundaries. So it's really about densification. Essentially, it defines how Edmonton's mobility systems are going to work together to create a community of communities, 15-minute walkable districts that are self-sustaining and connected by really great transit. Transit-oriented development guides zoning and development decisions and encourages development along major transit corridors and at transit hubs. So as an example, we have West Block development along our Valley Line West, and we have some redevelopment by our Century Park on Capital Line. It's an exciting vision, and it's really an exciting time for transit in Edmonton. And now I'll talk about some of the specific components related to LRT that are coming. So Valley Line Southeast is the next kind of extension when it comes to LRT service for Edmonton. So it's going to be a modern low-floor light rail vehicle that stops closely spaced together, that's integrated with our neighborhoods. So again, it's more of an urban style LRT, and they operate with the flow of traffic. So this particular line is on our southeast side. It includes 11 street level stops, an elevated station with a park and ride facility, and a full transit center as well. So we have that integration between bus and train. And we have a new bridge crossing over the North Saskatchewan River as well, and a short tunnel from the north face of the river valley through to the Quarters redevelopment downtown. The first stage of the Valley Line operation also includes a new OMF facility, so an operations and maintenance facility with a control center. This project is unique because it's our first P3 project, so it really relies on that key partner. And in this instance, it's design, build, operate, as well as fund and vehicle maintain. So it's the full suite of delivery, and it'll be done in a partnership with us. So we set the service levels as ETS, and we also collect the revenue and provide security and a couple of other kind of functional components to the service, but it's largely outsourced through this P3 model. It's a 1.8 billion P3 project that started in 2016 and is scheduled for service commencement next year. And we're really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. So there's another layer of expansion related to this Valley Line kind of urban style LRT, and this is extending west. So the west part of the city. So construction is starting this year. It's anticipated to be completed in 2027. The Valley Line West is going to run 14 kilometers from downtown, and it's going to link to several major destinations, including some of our post-secondaries, as well as hospital and West Edmonton Mall as well. It's going to include 14 street level stops, 1.5 kilometer elevated section with 2 stops, and there'll be 2 bridges as well. The capital cost is $2.6 billion, and it's being delivered using a design build finance for the infrastructure. We recently selected the Hyundai Rotem company to build 40 light rail vehicles as part of this line. And this project received its final funding approvals and completed procurement in 2020 during the COVID pandemic, which was quite a feat considering all of the challenges that we've been working through. Metro Line North expansion is also underway. So the Metro Line is directly delivered and supported by ETS. So again, that's our high floor LRT. So we're looking at an expansion and extending it slightly north in anticipation of even further expansion further north after this next step. So this is in the works and should be operational in 2024, 2025. It takes our current ETS run Metro Line, brings it north towards Blatchford redevelopment, and help connect Edmontonians a little bit further beyond today. And as I mentioned, it sets us up for future expansions as well. And another one that we're really excited about is our Capital Line. So the other line that ETS runs, again, high floor LRT, is expanding further south. So we've had a lot of population growth on the south side of the city. So it's going to extend further south and includes adding another OMF for ETS. So we'll have another facility. and it's going to help serve an area that has seen a lot of growth. It's going to be an extension of 4.5 kilometers, and it's going to include an underpass at 23rd Ave, bridges crossing Black Mud Creek and the Anthony Henday Highway. It will also include a station at Twin Brooks and connect to a Heritage Valley Park and Ride facility that just opened. So in the future, we'll have LRT service running to that Park and Ride facility. The plan also enables further expansion south after this, with opportunities to connect to a new hospital facility that's being built by the provincial government. And this extension should be in place and operational by 2027. So the next several years, we see a lot of additions and a lot of service growth on the LRT side, which is a really neat opportunity for us to further integrate into our transit service and support more mobility. So LRT operation and expansion, honestly, is really similar to our electric bus strategy. Both of these components are just critical elements of our mass transit strategy and to achieve our city plan goals. So our city plan mode shift target calls for 50% active transportation mode share, including transit, by the time we hit our 2 million population. We're excited about transit's future in Edmonton and all of the growth that we have underway. And we look forward to the implementation of the city plan and building our public transit and high quality active transportation networks so that we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and improve air quality for Edmontonians. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Very interesting. And I particularly appreciated the fact that how you highlighted the community within a community and improving accessibility for all Edmontonians. It's very interesting. And I'm sure our audience would have some questions to ask you. I'm seeing some questions already in the chat box. So please, audience, do put your questions in the Q&A chat box, and we would be happy to get to them when we start the panel discussion. And with that, I do want to thank you, Carrie, and invite our next panelist, Ms. Amal Tamim, market leader at Jensen Hughes, to deliver her presentation. Over to you, Amal.
Hello, everybody. We just have to bring it back to the beginning. Thank you for QTRIC for having us participate in this conference. I look forward to an interesting discussion at the end of the presentations. My name is Amal Tamim. I'm a senior consultant and a market leader within Jensen Hughes. I work with different experts within Jensen Hughes to support clients in the transit sector. And today I'm going to give you a little bit of background on our experience with the deployments of LRT across Canada. A little bit of background about Jensen Hughes for those who are not familiar with it. Jensen Hughes has been in existence in 1939. It started with Hughes Associates, and then got through amalgamation and acquisitions of different companies for Rolf Jensen Associates, Randall Brown in Canada, CFT Engineering in Canada, FSEG in Belgium, and other companies in safety and the security sectors. We have presence worldwide. Our services are focused on providing expertise and technology know-how to address the complexities of safeties and security challenges across the spectrum of risk management, whether we're dealing with fire safety and building safety, risk and hazards in different industrial processes, or chemical environments, transportation, energy management, emergency management, security, forensics, and software. We've been working on project globally. We have 90 plus offices worldwide. We've got 1,400 employees. In Canada, we've got offices in Halifax, Ottawa, Toronto, Calgary, as well, Burnaby and Vancouver. We have staff located in Edmonton and staff located in the Greater Montreal area. We've got 70 plus employees in Canada. With our work and through our expertise, we participate in a number of technical committees that work on development of safety standards, whether it's the NFPA are the Society of the National Fire Protection Association, Society of Fire Protection Engineers, International Code Council, the Canadian Commission for Building Codes, Building and Fire Codes Standing Committees, CSA, ASTM, IEEE, ASME, ASHRAE, military and Navy organizations in the U.S., and other fire inspector and fire chiefs associations in North America. We participate in a standard development process in all, impacting the design of building and structures that we provide our expertise on. In terms of LRT deployments, we've been present on different LRT projects, and I'll give you some information related to that. But what do we provide? Whether it's transit stations, terminals, tunnels, we provide fire and life safety systems designs. We would do witness testing, commissioning, CANUL-C S1010 integrated testing coordination. We provide authority having jurisdiction representation, sometimes for specific authorities and regions. And we provide plan review as part of the process. We provide code and regulatory compliance consulting services. The NFPA 130 also reviews. We also contribute to the development of the NFPA 130, which is the standard for transit and rail systems and guideways. We provide emergency management and preparedness and action plans. We do fire modeling. These are the services related to ventilation, and subway environment system design, smoke control systems design, mass notification systems, MEP and structural safety, risk analysis and hazard assessment, security consulting, forensic engineering, accessibility consulting, and your typical, and provide the training related to that. As these are some of the services that a typical LRT or a transit project or electrical bus stations deployment would require typically to be delivered. And as we provide those services, we have in the LRT experience, I'm just mentioning generically some of the projects we've been involved with, whether it's BCRTC, Translake LRT projects, Metrolinx TTC LRT, Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa LRT. Our staff have participated in them, and our participation takes many forms. So we can be proponent, we have been proponent consultant, that we have been a technical advisory team consultant, we have been the owner engineer representative, we've been providing peer review, third-party review. In BC, we also participate as BCRA, so local authority representative. So we've seen LRT transit projects from different aspects, from different perspectives of whether from the clients, whether from the contractors, whether from the local authority, or as an independent expert. And my presentation today would not happen if I didn't recognize the contribution of a number of experts and consultants within Jensen Hughes Canada, and also a couple of them in the US, who provide support and deliver and work daily on transit and LRT project, with Mark Fenton in BC, Puneet Sharma and Dominic Esposito in Ontario, Dominic Burrow also in BC, James Kashuhe in BC, Vitali in Ottawa, Amir Amirali in Ottawa, Catherine Fugland, who's retired, who's really who's been a guiding light for us within the company, and and we still work with her. And then in the US, our specialists, Nishat Nayan, he's our ventilation specialist and had our transit expert field, and Alberto Alvarez Rodriguez, who provides a wealth of knowledge with modeling and fire and smoke modeling. And some of the information that trickled down through interacting with my colleagues and the experts, I'm giving you an overview of some of what I have seen. I personally have been with Jensen Hughes for 2 years. I've been in the field of fire protection, regulatory compliance for over 30 years now. I've participate in code committees, I participate in standards development, I work on projects. And from those 2 years experience and relying on the input of my colleagues, I'm presenting to you some of the lessons learned here. The regulations in Canada, as it relates to transit and in general NLRT deployments, it's a mishmash of building code and transit agency standards, codes, and guidelines. Whether if you're in Ontario, you might be familiar with Section 313. Whether you're in Quebec, you know that you rely on NFPA 130. In TransLink, you know you have to rely on the TransLink building code criteria and the BC building code of British Columbia. In other regions, we only have the national building code with local modifications and then some of the guidelines that the transit agencies provide to you. So as consultants or as experts that work in the field, there is lots of judgments and lots of discussion to take about what the codes, what the regulations, what the guidelines, what the criteria say, and how to integrate all that when we are deploying transit projects, whether in the brick and mortar, whether the connections, whether the service room, equipment rooms, and how do we consider that? So some of the examples when we're constructing related to construction of stations, the determination of open station, unenclosed stations, that question comes back a lot, that how do you consider the station, whether it's open or unenclosed, because that's going to be impacting the construction requirements of those stations. The classification traction power substations, TPSs, based on their size, they may be considered buildings sometimes. Energy storage systems enclosures, how do you classify that? What is the building classification related to that? What's the protection measures related to them? Egress measures related to them? Whether it's maintenance, storage facilities, control and command centers, these are also some of the equipment and infrastructure related to LRT projects that we are going to be asking questions on, we're going to be involved with. And these are always the same questions that come up. Adjacencies. So how do we connect to other infrastructures? How do we connect to other developments? How do we connect to bus transit centers? How do we protect from? Are we protecting from or from the LRT, or are we protecting the LRT from adjacencies? Are guideways. So if we have guideway decks to developments, are they any different than highways? Should we be doing something extra to protect the developments or protect the guideways? In some areas of Canada, the questions can be answered quickly and easily, and others not. And how is that? Why is that? Well, there are inconsistencies of interpretations. You've got your consultant opinions, your owner engineer opinion. You've got the local authorities, their depth of experience, and their representatives. You've got other factors also causing ups and downs in the deployment of transit project and LRT deployments. Are the interpretations that have been set at the beginning of the project, are they consistent throughout the project delivery process? How about the construction team? How about the design team? Are they on board with those? Are they going to change it? And the reviewers, are they cognizant of the specifications? Will the specifications be changed? And who within the authority having jurisdiction team has the history of the project requirements, and within the owner's team has the history of the project requirement, where they came from, so that when the construction team comes in and brings in new solutions, some of the safety principles that were initiated and set at the beginning, those things have been translated and have been maintained so that the evaluations can be done on those. So what is coming up? What's new? I mean, we see a lot of things that are coming up with electrification of transit, with LRT deployment or not. So we see the needs for codes and standards development for the new systems, whether energy storage systems, commissioning of those systems, development of emergency action plans, emergency response planning. Are there, or should we be concerned with failure of some of these systems? How are we developing fire and life safety systems designed for those? Developing, looking at fire, smoke, explosion, deflagration modeling, risk analysis. Some of the things that we see also is that you've got the connection between LRT and then electrification of buses. What do you do with all the batteries that are going to be used on these buses, on these replacements? Where the storage are going to be? How are we? Where are the codes? Where are the standards saying about that? Is there anything being developed in Canada related to that? So we see quite a bit of needs coming down the line and guidance that is needed to look at those, to look at the future and prepare for it, so that we don't repeat some of the mistakes and some of the things that we encounter daily on transit projects. So this has been a little bit a quick overview of some of the LRT deployment experience within Johnson Hughes. And I look forward to questions from the audience and from the moderators, so that we can address a little bit more and dig deeper into some of the presentation materials we have provided to you.
Thank you so much, Amal. That was very insightful. Thank you for sharing the technical details regarding LRT. And I'm sure our audience would have a few questions to ask you as well. If I may request our panelist, Carrie, to join me here on the virtual stage, we can start our discussions here. I'm seeing a lot of questions from our audience. Thank you so much. Please have those questions come in as we continue our discussions here. So first of all, thank you, Amal and Carrie, for great presentations. You set the stage clearly. You articulated how important it is for the communities, for the society, for the technology, and for the country in general. So I do want to turn to you, Carrie, for the, if I may, ask about the social aspect, because from both of your presentation, I'm seeing the social element, the technical element of LRT deployments, and there is, of course, a political element as well associated with it. There is that element which we would get to in a minute. But if I were to start on the community or the social side of things, transit is a pillar of democracy, if you want to call it, and people are the core of it all. And Carrie, you mentioned about this, community creation within communities and ensuring the accessibility concerns. So as a transit leader like ETS and, you in your role, how are you ensuring the connection of different modes of transit applications, the bus operations? You are doing a lot in the electrification of that, and now in the rail sector. So how is ETS merging it all for the benefit of the customers who are at the core of it all?
Such a great question. I'm happy to answer that one. So from my perspective, honestly, everything we do is about the rider experience and making it really easy for people to choose transit. So I always think of it as layers of service and different options for people to consider. And ultimately, we're striving for that experience where transit is convenient. So whether that's about frequencies, whether that's about coverage, hours of service, simple things like adding bike storage at our facility. So integrating with active modes of transportation. So convenience, a big factor. Reliable is another important one. Safety is another. We want to make sure people feel safe using transit, and accessible. So those are kind of 4 key pillars for us when we think about the rider experience. I think integrating all of these different modes together, it's about enabling mobility. So making sure that people understand how to navigate and what options are available to them. The research we've done in terms of ridership, both in terms of growth and recovering from the pandemic, it's really showing that investing in service is what makes the biggest difference. So to get the best returns, to encourage that mode shift that we're looking for, we have to invest in service and build a really great transit service for people to use. Investing in other elements just aren't going to generate the same level of return. So that's been our focus, is to really personalize it, make it about the rider experience, and show how to integrate all of these different layers of transit service together.
That is a great insight, because you touched upon how important it is to make it all good for the rider. But the transit agency, we are an organization that has the transit agency at the core of it. We work with transit agencies, and we do see the the levels of planning that they go through to make a ZEB implementation or an LRT planning done. So I do want to turn to you, Amal, because Carrie talked about navigating it all for the core recipient of the service, like the beneficiary, who is the community or the riders. But a transit agency goes through a lot of planning and a lot of risk management to actually reach that particular point to be able to deliver the service. And you, in your presentation, touched upon the codes, regulations, and standards, which are varied and various within jurisdictions across the country. So as a service provider, as a consultant, how are you equipping our transit agencies to be ready for such a transition, if we were talking about LRT specifically?
Yeah. Okay. So depending on our involvement in projects, so we provide the guidance, whether as part of the owners, engineers, or as part of the technical advisory team. So we provide the guidance related to the codes, the compliance approaches, the alternative approaches, and all that. And some of that gets translated through many layers of design engineers, team members before it gets to the transit agencies. Sometimes we more directly involved hand in hand as an owner engineer with the transit agencies. Sometimes we go through layers of service providers before it gets to the transit agencies. And that's why we believe, and I think that this is my personal opinion, and I think it's backed up also by some of my Jensen Hughes experts, is that in Canada we do lack that central guidance that crosses all borders across the provinces to translate regulations and give a national approach to safety, especially from the building perspective and development perspective. There is common denominators all across those projects, and they on a daily basis we get questions on the same topics and the answers will vary from region to region because of the interpretations. So I think we bring consistencies of that interpretation. However, we do see the need that for the transit agencies to come together and develop this national guidance document to facilitate and make their life easier, as well as and brings them latest expertise and knowledge onto paper so that everybody can benefit from it.
Very interesting. So if I may turn to you, Carrie, because Amal talked about making it easy for the transit agencies, how easy it is, because particularly looking at a capital intensive investment such as LRT, how much can you bank on, let's spend the dollars, let's design it, let's involve a P3 and hope that, or plan for the ridership to come, and to ensure you basically get the ridership after the deployment of the LRT. So how easy it is for you as a transit agency to manage that, and to plan for that return on investment or return on asset calculation?
So I think there's a couple of components to that. So one is really engaging the communities. So throughout the entire process, even in the early days of kind of working on these, I'll call it massive kind of P3 projects, there's a ton of engagement. So really hearing from the community, listening, learning, and then reflecting back what we've heard and incorporating that into our plans, I think is super critical. This cannot be done to people. It has to be done with people. And I always joke, it's a bit cliched, as much as the community needs transit actually needs the community even more. It has to be done together. So that's number one. I think number two is really about, again, this is the role that the agency plays, and in my instance, ETS plays, is linking it all together so that it's really simple for someone to understand. Is this convenient? Is it going to be reliable? Is it safe? Why should I choose transit today? So integrating all of that into a single kind of rider experience. So as an example, Valley Line Southeast, it can take you into the downtown, then you can connect to the other lines if you want to continue your journey. or maybe you want to hop on a bus to get to your endpoint, or maybe you're going to take a bike or a scooter. So really making it simple for people to understand. But I think engaging them from the start, and then again, linking it all together and creating that kind of integrated service story for people to understand is really, really important. And then we do modeling. So we do have some ridership, modeling that we do to understand growth in terms of riders. People will convert over from bus to LRT, but then there is incremental growth that we anticipate as well from having that new LRT service in place.
Great. So basically what you're talking about is it is a two-way street. Like you build it for the community and you need the community to sustain as well. I think it's a beautiful way to put it. Now, we have established amongst, the three of us in terms of the beautiful side of the spectrum, in terms of the need that the community has, the way in which the service delivery is happening and how we are planning for it. Now, I do want to turn to if I were to look at the political side of things, and I this is an audience question as well in terms of how but it is technically advanced. It is the need of the hour in terms of our community's requirements, but still we have a general reluctance to speak about it, or politically LRTs are very highly sensitive. And we had, I am a Hamiltonian myself, and we recently know that in Hamilton itself, it's a problem. We do not speak about it. We didn't have federal ministers or municipal councillors in the city speak about that as well. So if I may turn to you to seek your insights on that particular aspect as to why is it so politically sensitive, although we established the business case for it, from the technical and social side. Maybe I would ask you, Amal, first, and then turn to you, Carrie, for the experience that you have in Edmonton. Amal, what are your thoughts on this one?
Really, on the political area, I have no information. I do know, the project for the Hamilton project, it was on the paper and then off the papers, back on the paper, still in the background. We keep watch for that to happen one day. So it's interesting to see that. But there is lots of, if for me to speak on it, I can say there's lots of investment into those projects. There's long time to preparation time and a lot of investment initially into those projects, and that investment is considerable. And then we're not even talking about execution and of the project. That's another essential. And as you put the equation of money and power and politics, a lot of things can go wrong. So I will leave it at that, because that's the extent of my knowledge on that question.
Fair, very fair. So if I may turn to you, Carrie, not necessarily in the Ontario scenario, but in your experience in Edmonton, how was it, and whether you have faced any kind of that political kind of sensitivity around it?
So I think what stands out for me is just the partnerships that are required. So oftentimes, whether it's LRT investments or other capital related investments, there's a lot of times where funding might be contingent on another layer of funding from the other order of government. So just the timing and sequencing and coordinating among local government, provincial government, and then our federal government, who's going to step up first, who comes second, who comes third, who's showing the commitment on paper right away. Just that sequencing, there's a lot of work happening among senior administrators, trying to navigate some of that complexity. I think we've been very fortunate in that, a lot of the capital investment, it's a job creator. It really, is a key element of, if you think about economic development and spurring some of that momentum coming out of something like a global pandemic, it's quite positive. So I think generally speaking, we've seen a lot of really great interest and support for the LRT related expansion and related renewal projects too. It's all elements kind of spurring that activity. But I find a lot of the complexity ends up being about timing. So who's going to commit first? Who's publicly committing second? Who's invited to which, let's say, announcement? Those types of things. But we have great support at the senior admin level to work together and kind of sort out all of those components.
That's a great response, and particularly you mentioned about the layers in the decision making as well, and the timing. So I think those are the key points that we can help to make sense out of like situations like that as well. So thank you so much. Now that we have talked about the social and the political side of things, I'm receiving a lot of questions from our audience on the technical side. If I may shift gears and move to the technical side, particularly with you, Carrie, if I may turn to you, because based on your presentation, our audiences are asking if there is a future plan for you to upgrade from the fixed block to moving block instead of a hybrid option.
So we used to have a hybrid option and we've moved to fixed block. So right now there's no plans to revert back. We're quite happy with the system and the processes that we have now.
So may I ask you, was there a lessons learned that enabled you to move from that hybrid option back? If you wouldn't mind sharing that for our audience, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, so on our end, that hybrid approach just didn't work for us. So we weren't able to execute on some of the things that we wanted to achieve with our LRT. So as an example, the ability to move to our 5-minute frequencies during peak, which I'm super excited about. We launched that in the fall. So literally during peak periods, every 5 minutes, there's a train coming on the Capital Line, which just makes it so easy for people. You don't even have to look at a schedule. You can just show up and kind of catch a train, which is really helpful. In addition to allowing bikes on LRT, adding bike storage lockers, etc. So that wasn't able to be achieved with the former approach that we had. So moving to this fixed block for us is really generating the returns that we wanted. So that is our plan, is to stick with it as we move forward.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that response. If I may request you, Amal, your guidance, because some of our audiences are wondering about Jensen Hughes, whether you do investigations into failure or forensics on the TPSS system itself. Would you like to share some insights on that?
Yeah, we have specialized forensic team within Jensen Hughes, and we work on investigations across the globe, and are involved in such investigations. So yes. So we do look at different aspects of failures.
Okay, awesome. So, we have like a few more minutes left in this session, and I do want to, request your insights on the lessons learned from your experience working with transit agencies, or like as a transit agency leading this innovation. If you were to provide 2 or 3 points to transit agencies outside, like considering, when they look at it as motivation speakers would say it's a huge thing, but if you plan it out in a smaller steps and address it one by one, there could be a way to tackle it through your work breakdown structure. So Carrie, because you are leading by example, may I ask you, in terms of a lessons learned, if you were to share 2 or 3 points for our transit agency colleagues on the line, what would those be? These things you need to watch out for, or these things you need to plan for?
So I think really one thing that stands out, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, is really listening to the community. So that community engagement, I can't overemphasize it enough, making sure that we listen to diverse voices, understand what their needs are, what their interests are. So that's really important. I think as the transit agency, because there's so many partners that get involved in LRT related projects, I feel like it's our responsibility and our role to steward what it means for the rider. So really, again, back to the service integration and thinking about what do we want to do for people who are using transit or who we want to use transit? How do we link all of these components together? So whether it's active modes and then let's say our bus service and then some LRT service, just really zeroing in on the customer journey and understanding how to consider all of the different elements together. I think that's really important. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm a transit user, and I always reference that and talk about what it means for me to be a transit user and how I make my transit decisions. And that, I think, is really important to, again, zero in on the use of the transit service, because we can't just build it and expect people to know what it means and how to navigate it and how to use it. We have to really personalize it so that it's attractive, convenient, reliable, safe, etc. So I would say focus on those two big pieces, which is no small feat, but it's really important. And I think it's integral if you're starting on this path.
Indeed. So, I mean, I particularly appreciate the fact that you highlighted an element that I have heard multiple times during my career at QTRIC as well. You know, you cannot just plan for transit by sitting at your office. Right? You need to ride the transit. You need to ride the buses. You need to ride the LRT to understand what it is that the riders are experiencing, what their needs are. Then only you can make the right decisions. And I think like innovators like you, leaders like you are proving that as well. So thank you for sharing it. Amali, if I may turn to you for like, at lessons learned, because Jensen Hughes has like this diverse experience, working with different jurisdictions to deploy, plan for LRTs. What are the top 2 or 3 lessons learned that you would share for the benefit of our audience here?
I think maintaining historical records related to the decisions made initially on the project development and developing consistent design guidelines across Canada. I think these are things that we need to address, and QTRIC can take a leadership role in having all the transit agencies already participating in that. I think there's power in numbers, and the expertise, the knowledge is there. It's just the need, the motivation. I think now as we're investing in the future, and those projects are coming on board, and there will be more of them as we go into more electrification projects. I think we are. The environment is ripe to develop a national transit standard for that helps in not only cost saving but also addressing safety questions that have been frequently being answered, but answered in so many different ways that the safety levels will be may differ depending on who's answering and what information they used. So these are 2 elements that I think that needs to be addressed: the guidelines, as well as putting a historical record for projects on the background for decision making related to safety questions.
I think those are 2 like key points to have in a planning process, right? Having like your lessons learned or your historical records, and to have like the guidelines. And you particularly highlighted the power in numbers as well. So the decision makers like looking at it, and the discussions that needs to happen around the technology, the safety questions that needs to be answered, and carry per your point as well, the community integration and the service integration that we need to ensure, to hear the voice of the riders and to integrate it and to make the customer friendly. Basically, like any service out there, we need to make like that element of transit adaptable to meet the requirements of our transit riders. So thank you very much. I do want to thank you both for sharing your valuable insights and enabling our audiences to understand what it means to move Canadians with light rail, from a transit agency who is leading by example, and from a consultant partner who has done it multiple times across the country and abroad. So thank you once again for joining me here at this particular panel on moving Canadians with light rail ups and downs of LRT deployments across Canada. Really appreciate your insights and participating in the question and answer session. I'm sure our audience would have gotten many of those answers already through your presentations, and I hope I was able to answer and get to most of the questions our audiences have posed as well. So thank you once again for joining me here. Thank you so much for tuning into the 2nd annual Smart Rail Technology Conference, properly hosted by QTRIC. We have our next session and the networking session at 2 p.m. EST today as well. So please be sure to join the networking session. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Parvati. It was a pleasure.